The First Love. Paris was a city of dreams, and for Elena, it was also a city of beginnings. She was a young artist, shy but passionate, trying to make her place in a world of beauty and creativity. Her days were quiet, spent painting in her small apartment or sketching people in the bustling streets of Montmartre. Her world was simple, but it felt incomplete, like a painting without its final stroke. One cloudy afternoon, Elena wandered into a bookshop near the Seine. The rain had started to fall softly, and the warm, quiet space felt comforting. She browsed through old books, enjoying the smell of aged pages and ink. As she reached for a book on a high shelf, another hand touched hers. Startled, she turned to see a young man standing beside her. His blue eyes met hers, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. He smiled, a little shyly, and handed her the book. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. He nodded, then introduced himself. "I'm Lucas. You like old books?" Elena smiled, hugging the book to her chest. "Yes, they tell the best stories." Their meeting was brief, but something about him stayed with her as she walked home in the rain. She couldn't explain it, his smile, his kindness, or the way he seemed so familiar, like she'd known him forever. The days passed, but Elena couldn't stop thinking about Lucas. Then, as if by fate, they met again. This time, it was at a street market. Elena was sketching the bustling scene when she noticed him standing nearby, a camera in his hands. He saw her too, and his face lit up. "We meet again," he said. From that moment, their lives became intertwined. Lucas was a photographer, capturing the world through his lens. He admired Elena's paintings, calling them magical, and she admired the way he saw beauty in everything. They spent hours together, wandering through Paris. Lucas showed her hidden corners of the city she had never noticed, and she shared her favorite quiet spots by the Seine. Elena felt her world changing. She had always been alone, comfortable in her solitude, but now she found herself waiting for Lucas's messages, hoping to see him again. He made her laugh, made her feel seen in a way she never had before. One evening, Lucas invited her to a rooftop overlooking the city. The sun was setting, casting the sky in soft pink and gold. Elena felt nervous, though she didn't know why. They stood side by side, watching the city lights begin to twinkle. Lucas seemed quiet, thoughtful, and Elena's heart raced as she wondered what he was thinking. Finally, he turned to her. His expression was serious but kind. "I don't know how to say this," he began, his voice low. "But I think you've changed my life, Elena." She looked at him, her breath catching. "What do you mean?" "I've been everywhere, seen so many places," he said. "But I've never felt at home until I met you." Elena didn't know what to say. She felt tears in her eyes, not from sadness, but from something deeper. She realized she felt the same, though she hadn't admitted it to herself until now. Their first kiss came a few days later, on a rainy afternoon by the Seine. The storm had caught them by surprise, and they ran laughing to take shelter under a small stone archway. Elena's hair was damp, clinging to her cheeks, and Lucas's shirt was soaked, but neither of them seemed to care. He looked at her then, his eyes filled with something she couldn't quite name, something tender and overwhelming. He reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. The world around them seemed to fall away, leaving only the sound of their breaths and the rain softly falling. "Elena," he whispered, his voice trembling slightly. She didn't speak, her heart pounding as she met his gaze. Slowly, he leaned closer, and when his lips touched hers, it was as if the whole world stopped. The kiss was soft and gentle, filled with all the emotions they couldn't say. It was a moment of pure magic, the kind that lingers in the soul forever. When he pulled back, their foreheads rested together, and neither of them said a word. They didn't need to. In that one perfect kiss, everything was clear. Their hearts belonged to each other. Their love grew quickly, but life was not always kind. Lucas received an offer to showcase his photography in New York, a dream he had worked toward for years. When he told Elena, she felt her heart sink. She was happy for him, proud of his success, but the thought of losing him was unbearable. "You have to go," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't want to leave you," he replied, pain in his eyes. For the first time, Elena realized how deeply she loved him. But she also knew she couldn't hold him back. They spent his last days in Paris walking through the city, creating memories to hold onto. When the time came for him to leave, they promised to stay in touch, but Elena knew it wouldn't be the same. Months passed. Elena poured her emotions into her art, creating paintings that captured the beauty and sadness of love. Her work gained recognition, and she found herself invited to exhibit in a small gallery in Paris. On the night of her first show, she stood nervously by her paintings, greeting guests. Then, through the crowd, she saw him. Lucas was there, holding a bouquet of sunflowers, her favorite. "You're here," she said, tears filling her eyes. "I told you I'd come back," he replied, his voice steady. Elena didn't hesitate. She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him, holding him as tightly as she could. In that moment, she knew their love had survived, stronger than ever. Years later, Elena and Lucas were still together, their love as vibrant as the city where it began. They traveled the world, sharing their art and photography, but they always returned to Paris, the city of their first love. And every time they walked by the Seine, Elena would smile, remembering that rainy evening when everything changed. Thank you for watching. Keep learning and practicing every day. Learn English through stories. Practice speaking with shadowing. Stay with us at Deep into English and improve your English step by step. Remember, easy English stories can help you grow. See you in the next video.